Cecil Hurd of the Tuscaloosa News and TideSports.com into the conversation. What about Jerry Lee, Cecil?
If you're using his divorce dates for special music, that takes care of a lot of days in the year.
We could probably take care of at least 6 months, right? 6 different months?
So. Well,
7 maybe?
I think Jerry did move on from number 6 to number 7. I think he's on number 7 right now. So he's hanging in there. He's got that Keith Richards gene. Can't keep Jerry Lee down. I think he had a stroke earlier this year, not performing as much this year, but he kept right on tour. And I think, as with a lot of them, I think the IRS, Jerry Lee had to work out a deal with the IRS at one point. So I think he tours to keep in pocket money. But at that time, when the Rockabillys were king, he may have been he was certainly the wildest one of all. I don't know that you can say the greatest one in a genre that included Elvis and Johnny Cash at one point. Johnny went a more traditional country route. Elvis became the king, and Jerry Lee he did some country too, but he never strayed far from that rock and roll.
No, he didn't. Hey, Cecil, how many of these farewell tours, these 4 or 5 year long farewell tours we're seeing, do you think are really associated maybe with the IRS? Elton John, some of these tours, it seems like they probably have a little bit of something to do with more than a few of these.
Probably so. I don't know. The accounting at that level, how much you're making, how it all gets apportioned out, who's getting a share of it, is beyond me. So I couldn't tell you. Some of them have done really well and invested wisely, and tour because they like to tour. I think some of them. I guess Bob Dylan, who never comes off tour anymore, I guess he just doesn't want to have the mail catch up to him. He doesn't want to have to do anything except ride that tour bus from now on. So some of them I'm sure have to work. And some of them work because that's what they do. It's in their blood.
Yeah, Willie Nelson, I think you could put in that same category as Bob. Pretty much going to be on that bus until he can't do it anymore at all. Cecil, obviously we're coming off A-Day on Saturday at Bryant-Denny Stadium. I guess it was interesting on multiple levels. First and foremost, we got some interesting news from Nick Saban after that scrimmage on Saturday, and it was a testy Nick Saban, wasn't it, in that post-scrimmage press conference?
Yeah, it was hard to tell. Some of it was joke. When he gets on the media coaches, the losing team, in this case the Crimson team media coaches, that seems fun. He sounds a lot gruffer than he is. But I think a couple of times he got a little bit fired up about a couple of the questions. He's still, I think he feels like people are digging for stuff on Tua that's not there. That's their job. He's the starting quarterback. He's a high-profile college football player, and people have to ask. But I think he gets tired. Nick gets tired of the questions, probably more so than Tua does.
Cecil, with the numbers and the production we saw from Tua and that first team offense on Saturday, even with the sample size that we have, given the performance against Clemson and what we saw on Saturday, is there any reason for concern in your mind, at least, as far as the offensive side of the ball? Wasn't it the defense that we probably should have been focused on more Saturday?
Probably so, but I think the defense always is going to have a little bit of an advantage. For one thing, you're not going to do anything out there to try and trick them. For another, they had shuffled a couple of pieces on the offensive line. So I thought the defense did well. I thought there were some positives from the defense. I thought the secondary looked like it's going to be really good next year. But people read a lot. First of all, people read too much into the statistics of A-Day. That this guy was this percentage and this guy got this yards per carry. And those can really be misleading given the sample size. I thought it was interesting. I was more interested I was less interested in Tua's raw number passing statistics than I was in the fact that he was out there in the fourth quarter of an A-Day slinging it. That told me that there were some things the coaches wanted to see, wanted him to work on or wanted to put him in a 2-minute situation, and there were some things that they wanted to evaluate. And so he wasn't sitting over there at halftime with the pads off and the towel around his neck. So I thought that was interesting. But again, people get into statistical measures in an A-Day, and it's just it doesn't translate very well to what the numbers will be against Duke.
I think you hit on it. You said the word situations, and that's what mostly these scrimmages are about. Even A-Day is putting guys, different players in different situations, and giving them the opportunity to work on some things, work some things out, and also evaluate certain individuals at the same time. As far as the big picture look at the quarterback position, maybe beyond Tua, how did you walk away Saturday feeling about looking at 2020 and maybe even beyond, understanding that the immediate need is for a solid number 2, but big picture wise, what did you think of the quarterbacks?
I thought of the 3 scrimmages, and of course, we don't get to watch the first 2, but you hear people talk and give opinions. And I thought it was probably Mac's best scrimmage of the spring, Mac Jones. I thought he did what you want a backup quarterback to do in a day. He did throw 1 pick, but he was efficient. He moved the team in 2 minutes. Yes, it's against the second-team defense. Whether that translates into it probably does translate into the traditional backup role where you're coming in, the game's been decided, as it's been at Alabama over the last 10 years, it's been decided in your team's favor. And your job is just to keep the clock rolling and to throw a little bit and run the offense. And I think Mac would be on a, not that you're allowed to say depth chart, but if there were a depth chart, Mac would be the number 2 guy. Now, 2020, that's going to be a different competition.
What did you think of Talia? He, like Mac, I guess, had a mistake, but I guess like Mac Jones, he seemed to respond pretty well, didn't he?
He did. He threw. Again, I'm always complaining about people who take Coach Saban's press conferences and pull a 15-second rant soundbite or a 45-second soundbite out of a 4 or 5 minute answer, and then I'm going to do the same thing with Talia. I thought if you pulled one highlight out of A-Day, it would be the touchdown pass that he threw to Watts. I thought the out putting the ball right on the spot in the corner of the end zone, front corner. But I thought that was the best throw of the day by anybody, probably including Slade Bolden. So from that standpoint, you look at that and you really flash on that. He's got to get bigger and stronger. I don't know that the rules of A-Day helped him particularly. The tag back. I don't know that they helped him particularly. But he's got some problems. He does, and that's not to say the others don't. Again, people look at Paul Tyson and say, "Oh, the stats weren't very good," but it's situational. He's still got plenty of potential. I wouldn't, chance that he'd redshirt in 2019. Sure, I think there's always been that chance. But again, just because they don't get to see him very often, people really make big, broad, sweeping judgments on players in A-Day that you need to tap the brakes sometimes.
Cecil, given that his area of expertise brings a level of anxiety to the Alabama fan base unlike any other, should Will Reichert have been the Dixie Howell Memorial Award winner as the MVP of the spring game on Saturday?
I thought, by the way, I voted for Matt. But John Mechie certainly did some impressive things. But I'll say that you knew as soon as I saw them, they do the awards on the field after the game, and as soon as I saw that Mechie had won it, and taking nothing away from him, he had an excellent game, extremely promising receiver, going to be a star at Alabama. But I knew that Coach Saban was going to be ticked off as soon as he hit that podium that a freshman was the MVP of the game. It was just automatic. It was just going to happen, and it did happen. Reichert, you couldn't tell too much about the kickoffs, but he was solid on the place kicking. The other guy who I thought looked really improved from last year, again, it's an A-Day and it's got to translate into a game, was Skylar DeLong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you. I thought DeLong looked a lot more comfortable in his skin than the last time we saw him in Bryant-Denny Stadium, which, of course, was that Missouri game in which the following week he was replaced by Mike Bernier. Hey, Cecil, we're trying to figure out on the show today, assuming that you pretty much have Tua Tagovailoa and Jake Fromm as your top two quarterbacks in the SEC for 2019, who would be your third guy? With the attrition at the position in the league, Drew Lock moves on, Jared Stidham moves on, Jordan Ta'amu moves on. What do you think, Jake Bentley, Joe Burrow? You believe in Felipe Franks at this point?
That's going to be, I mean, you may say, well, the top two guys are the two guys that are going to be in Atlanta at the end of the year, Tua and Fromm. And that might be right. But I think the answer to that question will be a big key in who else is contending. Who's got a guy who steps up. Joe Burrow has a good year, and LSU's suddenly a contender. Frank has a good year, and Florida's suddenly a contender because both those teams have guys around them. They've got guys. So it'll be interesting to see who that'll be. I don't have those are two that I'd certainly put on the list. But what's going to happen at Auburn? What's going to happen at A&M? What's going to happen at Tennessee? Where are they going to be on that scale? So it's tough to say that. You don't look at it and say, well, there's Ta'amu and there's Drew Lock and guys that may be drafted here in the first few rounds. I don't know that Ta'amu would go in the first round a lot, but they could. People will take some flyers on quarterback, but I don't see that guy yet. But somebody will do it. Somebody will step up and be that next guy.
Talking with Cecil Hurt, sports editor and columnist for the Tuscaloosa News on Southern Fried Sports, presented by Mercedes-Benz of Tuscaloosa. Cecil, when we look around the sports world in general, something else we've pondered here on the show today, the upcoming summer in sports. No LeBron James in the NBA playoffs. Major League Baseball, as we know, is a marathon that's going to grind through those summer months. Are we about to embark on the summer of Tiger and professional golf in general, given what we saw last week?
Yeah, if you ask me which one event will be the biggest event of the summer, besides our Preds playing for the Stanley Cup.
That's right.
That would be the pinnacle, and they're well on their way after last night's victory against a vicious Dallas team.
Absolutely. Road win for our Preds last night, Cecil.
To go into Texas and just smack the stars around. But anyway, the British Open would be the event that you'd say now, particularly. Always, British Open is always big. And really, one thing about it, if you're talking about the summer, you've got three majors. And if Tiger goes over and wins the British Open, then what the heck at the U.S. Open? What's that going to be? So that would definitely be, without knowing what's going to transpire in the NBA or NHL playoffs or at Wimbledon, but you can guarantee that the interest in the British Open will be sky high.
Well, got the PGA Championship, the U.S. Open. You're right. It's hard to imagine it being anything but the summer of Tiger.
Those are all wrapped up. Those are all wrapped up before Alabama plays football again.
Exactly. I mean, that's our mile markers this summer before we get back to a college football season, is following Tiger around to these major championships over the next 3 or 4 months. Hey, Cecil, as we let you go here, the biggest debate on the program today, what's the best eating fish out there? And yeah, when I say the best eating fish, smart guy, smart gal out there likes to say, well, it's got to be a bull shark. Look at their teeth. You know what I'm talking about, right, Cecil? The best fish to eat. What are we talking about for Cecil?
No, I'm a Gulf Coaster living in Alabama, native Alabamian, so redfish.
Hard to beat.
Yeah, it is.
Now, do you need
on the Atlantic Coast, Pacific Coast, they have different, or in Hawaii they have different opinions, maybe, but so much of it's in the preparation. You can get a snapper that's as good as anything. You can get flounder that's as good as anything, but a nice redfish, that's hard to eat.
Now, do you need the crawfish on top, or the crab, the imperial, the Orleans, or just blacken? How do you need it?
Don't have to. Blackened redfish is fine with me. Grilled snapper is fine with me. I don't have to have. Sauces are good. They can be great to go down to New Orleans and get them that way. But those fish, you're not trying to cover up the flavor. You want to taste the fish.
It takes care of itself fresh out of the waters down there in Louisiana. Hey, Cecil, as we let you go,
a little fresh lime on that. Go ahead.
Quick thought on the addition of Beetle Bolden, the grad transfer from West Virginia, to Nate Oates' first roster at the University of Alabama as men's basketball coach.
Yeah, I think he'll have a role. I think that whether that how much point he'll play. First of all, he's got to be healthier than he was at West Virginia last year, and hopefully he will be. Second of all, I don't know that Nate Oates is really into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as far as positions. Okay, I've got a point guard. I've got to have a shooting guard. He can play with 2 points. He can play with 3 small forwards. Bolden's a guy that's got some quickness, got some ability to. I think what people are overlooking about him is that he plays Nate. From that Bob Huggins school, he plays Nate Oates style defense, where you're hawking the ball, making steals. Now, he's not the biggest guy in the world. You get him posted up, he might have a problem, but I don't know that they're as worried about guys getting posted up as they are getting pressure on the ball. And I think that he can definitely contribute in that way too.
Well, there you go. Cecil Hurt, sports editor and columnist for the Tuscaloosa News. Always great stuff here with Cecil on Southern Fried Sports. Thanks again, Cecil. Look forward to doing it again real soon.
Look forward to it.